Hello, I'm the Barebow Brummie, and today I'm going to do a video about something that's a bit of a departure for me. It's something I don't really do, actually something I've never done, and it came across to me as part of something I was doing for the club when I was just checking out all of our club bows. We've got about 40 or 50 club bows. Some of them are right there that I've been checking out and doing the knock points, doing the brace heights, that kind of thing, making sure they're nice and safe, because a lot of our beginners or taster session people use these bows. We have to make sure that they're safe and they shoot reasonably straight for them. But the trouble is with that is they get used and abused a lot, so we have to make sure they're okay. As part of that, one of my committee members asked me to have a look at this bow. He said it needs new limbs. So I had a close look at it, and it needs a lot more than that. I'll show you more closely in a moment, but the problem with it is this thing, and I don't know where it's come from. Firstly, some moron has painted the thing black really, really badly. It's just slapped on there. It's an awful thing. But that's not the real issue. The real issue is the limbs that they've got on it don't actually fit. They're too wide for the limb pockets. If I can show you inside there, can you see that? That side, the limb fits in the pocket nicely, but on that side, you see, overhangs the side of the limb. It won't fit in, which means it's twisted. And on the other side, it's exactly the same. That side fits in nicely. That side won't fit in at all. It's just fractionally too wide. So my first thought was, this is absolute junk. I'm going to just throw it away. I'm not going to do anything with it. We can't use it. But then I thought, well, in that case, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to try to restore it, get it back to somewhere when it was originally. Try to get it to look nice and get it to shoot well. I've never done anything like this before, by the way. This is completely new for me. I mean, some of you woodworking people are going to look at what I'm going to be doing with this and think this man's an idiot. Clearly, he doesn't know what he's doing. And you're quite right. I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm going to try to restore it as best I can and see if I can get it to work properly. I thought it would make quite a good video, and you can see how I can strip it all down. My first job is going to be take the limbs off, try and take all the metalwork out of it, and then get all the black paint off, sand it down and all that kind of thing. So that's going to be an interesting experiment, and see if I can get the thing to work properly. I'll show you closely, very, very closely, to see what the kind of issues we're looking at here. Back in a moment. So now I've got it on the bench so you can have a closer look at it. Let's start with the real issue. See that side of the limb? See, that fits in there nicely, just there. That's okay. If you turn it over, you see that side doesn't even fit in the pocket properly. I mean, that's potentially dangerous. The same applies with the other side. That side is okay. Turn it over. Look at that. Doesn't even fit in. I don't know whether I can... Can you see inside there? Look, it's not even straight. Both of them are twisted in, what's worse, in opposite directions as well. I mean, let's have a closer look at the paint job. I mean, look at that. That's lovely, isn't it, huh? Oh, a professional job somebody's made of that. Look at that. They've even slapped paint all over the limb bolts. And on the underside, on the limb collar bolt collars at the back, they've slapped paint all over that. That one's come off a little bit. And they've even painted over the arrow rest. They haven't even bothered taking the arrow rest off. They've just slapped black paint over that. So we're going to have to strip all this down and start again. Now, this bow is only a children's one, and you may find that you will find this kind of thing at car boot sales, garage sales, that kind of thing, that people are selling simply because they buy these kind of bows for the children, and the children outgrow them, and then they get thrown in a garage, And what happens is these things eventually sit in the garage for a few years, and then somebody will just sell them off at a yard sale or a garage sale or a car boot, something like that. And normally I would say to people, don't buy anything like that. Run a mile. You have no idea what's wrong with it, where it came from, whether it has any issues. Do not buy the thing. But as this one literally didn't cost anything, I've got nothing to lose with this one. So we're going to have a go at restoring it and see how it goes and see if we can get it to work. Okay, let's start stripping it down. Okay, let's just first take these limbs off. Yes. Let's get, oh dear. That's a mess. We'll deal with the limbs later. Take the other one out. Like that. There's all paint inside there as well. The limbs themselves actually look okay. The limbs are fairly recent. They're the core red versions, which means they're fairly new. We'll deal with those later on. I'm thinking if we just trim down the edge of that slightly on both sides, try and narrow that out a touch, we can get it to fit in the limb pockets. Next job, take out the limb pocket at both ends, get rid of the arrow rest, see if we can get the limb collar bolts out of that on both ends, and then get the paint off it. So first let's get the arrow rest off. There we go. We'll clean that up. Not too worried about scratching the paint, eh? We don't have to worry about something like that. Right, put that in there. Now we'll take the limb pockets out. Just held on by 2 screws, these plates are. And then once we've got these off, I can clean them up on one of my metal grinder things, and then we can repaint those properly and make them look nice again. And the other one, there we are, last screw. Wood looks okay in there. Yeah, wood looks okay. Now the only issue we got now is can we get the collar for the limb bolt, which comes out of the back from there, out. I think I know a way I can do that without damaging anything too badly. I think normally what you would kind of do is put the limb bolt back in and then hammer the limb bolt and push that out the other side. But these limb bolts are traditionally fairly soft, so I don't want to hit that with a hammer, and because it will just bend it. So I think if I get a small socket and put that in there, and I can push it out through the other way. Let's give that a try. Okay, so my plan is to put the riser over the top of that vise and have it that way up, so the collar bolt is underneath it, and use this socket and try and tap it through and see if I can get it to come out. Here goes nothing then. Let's give it a try. Oh, that's moving. Oh, that came out. Okay, let's just try the longer one and see if we can push it all the way out so it'll fall out. Ooh. There we go. Got the collar bolt out. No damage to that. No real damage to the riser. That's fine. Okay, that's all right. That'll come nicely. Just got to do the same to the other one. And then we're ready to get a bit of paint stripper on it and clean the paint off it, sand it up, carry on from there. Okay, next stage. What I've done, and I did this before I started filming, I've put some paint stripper on the riser there. I've coated it pretty liberally. You can see the white stuff all over it. And now I'm going to leave that for about half an hour or so until the paint starts to bubble, and then we can scrape the rest of it off. You'll notice that the one thing I didn't do is take these two small grommets out here. Those are mountings for sights, and I was a bit worried about taking those off because I think I'm probably going to either break the riser or splinter it trying to pull them out, so I decided not to bother. They're recessed into the wood anyway, so when it comes to sanding the wood, I don't think it's going to make a great deal of difference. And we don't really use sights for our beginners anyway, so even if the thread gets ruined, it's not a big deal. I can work around it. So we're just going to leave that there for a bit, and what I'm going to do now is get on with these mounting pockets, sand them down a little bit, get me drill out with me grinding tool and clean all the paint off, clean them all up and repaint them, make them look better. I'll reset up the camera and we'll carry on with that. So next stage, we're going to polish up these things. I mean, the idea was originally just to do the outside edges, the parts you can actually see. But it turns out, if you look closely, the same Moron that painted the riser black has painted the inside of the pockets as well. So the shiny metal underneath it is just there. And all this is that horrible matte black, so I'm going to have to sand down the whole lot. So we're going to start with the wire brush, which is quite aggressive, so it'll put some scratches into the metal, and then we're going to go with the polishing brush afterwards to take the scratches back out. I'll do it without the sound on because the drill is quite loud, but here we go. Ready? Okay, so you see that's cleaned up 99% of the paint off it. I'm not going to do the back edge because that's going to be up against the wood, so there's no need to clean all that off for no reason at all. It'll never be seen. And all I've got to do now is remove these light scratches, change the pad over to that one, get all these scratches off, and it'll be ready to go. The other one I've already done, and you can see that there, that's all been nicely polished up. See, that's ready to go. That's ready for painting. I'll get that one to look like this one, and we're done, get some paint on them. Okay, so it's been nearly an hour now, so we'll just see how much of this comes off. I've got a bit of a surprise for you actually in a second. So let's start scraping it and see what happens. Ooh, that's coming off. I think I'm going to have to need a second go at this in a bit because it is very thick, as I said before. And I think already you can see, actually, some quite nice wood under there. That may well come up really nicely. Anyway, I said I got a bit of a surprise for you because I've actually already done the other side of this. So I'm just going to turn it over. And look at that. I mean, there's still a way to go. I've got to do a second coat of the paint stripper to get the rest of it off and then sand it all down. But actually, that's quite good. That's all right, isn't it? I mean, it looks a bit of a mess now, but giving a few more goes at it and some sanding down, and I think we might have a good one there. Okay, so after it turned out it was going to be a couple of coats of the paint stripper, it turned out to be about 4 and about an hour's work. You can see that actually all that paint's gone. It's not in bad condition at all. I mean, it looks a bit rough, you know, some of the varnish has gone here and here, but that's all right. When they sand that back, it'll look okay. Because, and I'll tell you how I know that, because if I turn it over, I've already sanded the other side, and that's not bad at all. I've got something quite special I think I'm going to try with this. You can see all the laminated parts onto it there. Look at that, that's quite good. So all I've got to do now is sand the other side and the front and the back just to make it all nice and neat, and that'll be ready for varnishing and painting. But my problem is it's pouring me rain outside, so I can't get the sander out. I'm not going to do the sander in the workshop because it just makes everything dusty. So I'm going to do that outside. In the meantime, I'm going to get on with something else. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to repaint the metal brackets like this. I've got these ones, and I've got a slightly special way of doing it. It was a way that was shown to me by a guy that actually restores motorcycles, and he showed me a really good way of painting metal, how you can get it up really nicely. To give you an idea, I've already done the limb bolts and the collars. See, they've come up really nicely. So they're all ready to go. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to paint the actual limb pockets themselves with a simple spray can. Like that. There's one. Just pop that down there. Grab the other one. Just spray that up. Nicely done. I'll give them both a second coat in a second, just let that tack off for a minute, and then I'll show you how I get the paint to set correctly. So this was a tip I was shown a few years ago. When you're spraying metal parts, the best way to do it is once you sprayed the part, put them in your oven at home, or a barbecue if you've got one. Set the temperature on your oven to about 150 degrees for about 10 minutes. Pop your parts in the oven. And what it does, it bakes the paint on. So what happens is the paint grips to the metal a bit better, and also it hardens the paint, make it stronger. It doesn't crack or peel off. I'll show you the result once that's finished. So there we are. 10 minutes in the oven, 150 degrees. They're baked hard. I can't touch them yet because they're still quite hot. But in the meantime, it gives me time while I just wait for those to cool down to eat the cake that my wife has bought me for lunch. There you are. I'll see you in a minute. So, there you go. They've cooled down now. You want to have a closer look? There you go. Nice and shiny. All done. Both sides all lovely. And my next job now is to try and get them to fit onto these limbs. Because as I showed you previously, it fits nicely on that side. Won't fit on that side. See, it just simply won't go on. If I put that on there, it won't fit on that side. It's not very much, it's just a millimetre or not even a millimetre that I've got to take off. So I'm going to use that grinding tool there and just take a little bit off each side of that limb just to make them fit a little bit. So let's get on with it. Nearly. A little bit more. There we go. Oh, that's in, and that one's in on that side. Fits perfectly. Just got to do the same thing to the other one. So it sits nicely on the end of there. Just got to do the same thing with the other one now and we're done. And then we're back to sorting the riser out. So, what I decided to do is I've sanded down the riser all across. It's actually not bad. There's a little bit of damage in it. I didn't bother showing you all the sanding simply because you didn't want to watch me do 2 hours of sanding and get myself covered in sawdust. So I've done all that. It's actually not looking too badly at all. There's some quite nice laminations in it, if you see, from where the bow was manufactured. It's quite nice, that. But what I've decided to do, I could just varnish that straight over, but I've decided it would be a little bit dull. So what I've decided to do is put a highlight on it. And I'm going to put a red line straight across one of the laminations all the way down the length. Do the same thing on both sides. I've already masked one side off. So let's just mask the second side. Oh, we do. Follow the line of the lamination as evenly as you can. This is probably the most important part. You've got to get this bit right. Because if you don't get it right, the line won't be even. I've had a bit of practice in this. There. There we go. A little bit more at the end. I'm going to do it in 2 halves. I'm going to do this half first and then this half separately. Like that. Put that down there. Make sure the edge is all sealed in so the paint doesn't leak underneath it. If it does, it's not a big deal. We can scratch it off to straighten the line out if we have to. There we go. Ready for painting. Okay. I've decided I'm going to do a red line on it. And because I think the red line with the varnish will look quite good. So just work our way along, paint that on there. That's not bad. All the way to the end. What do you think? Does it look alright? I mean, do any of you think I'm doing a half decent job of this, or do you think this fool doesn't know what he's doing? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if you said that. But I think, considering the state that this bow was in when we started, it's actually looking much, much better. Okay, now the beauty of this paint is it's an acrylic paint and it dries pretty fast, so you can take the tape off more or less straight away while it's still a little bit damp, and it won't run. Just a bit more. There we go. Bit more there. Just to get the colour even. There you go. What do you think? You ready for me to take the tape off so we can reveal it? Right, here we go. Ready? One. Two. There you go. What do you think? With some varnish over that, it's going to look really nice, don't you think? And I'll let you into another little secret. If I turn the bow over, I've already done the other side. So that's the other side of it. That's finished. I've done the two ends as well. You see the two ends? See, and then the end there and the end there. That's all finished, ready to go. This side, I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll just do the other half of it, and then it's ready for varnishing, and then we can start assembling the thing, and maybe we might be able to get it to shoot buttons soon. There you go. Okay then, so this is the last bit now. What we're going to do is we're going to varnish the handle up and get it ready to reassemble. I'm using a high gloss, very hard kind of varnish for this. And I think this is going to come up really well. See, I've got a screwdriver through the hole there, so I can turn it round and not get this stuff all over me, because you don't want to get this stuff all over. It's very sticky. Yeah. I'm going to put a couple of coats of this varnish on. What do you think? I think it's looking good. I think it's looking great. brings out the colour really nicely. I mean, you can even see, I mean, I don't mind these little marks like that kind of thing on there, because it kind of gives it a bit of character, doesn't it? There we go, that's one end. Now, turn it up the other way. Do it from the other side. Got to be dangled in mid-air to do it this way. Yeah, this is an antique pine varnish that I'm using, and I think you'll agree it comes up really quite well. Don't you think? I like it. Then, once we've finished, I'm going to do a couple of coats of this, and then we get to do the interesting, the exciting part, which is start putting it all back together again. There's a bit in there. Turn it over again. A little bit on the top. Last bit on there. There you go. What do you think? Right, okay. So now the varnish is dry, we can start reassembling the thing. So, first thing I'm going to do is pop the collars back into the back of there, then put the rest of the pieces on. We're going to do this like this. This is probably the best way. Push that in, get me rubber mallet. Tap that in. Tap that in. Whack the thing in really hard. But there you go. The other one. There is some varnish running inside these holes, so I reckon they're a bit tight. There we go. There we go. Both in place. Okay, now we can just put the plates back on. I've got some nice new screws for them. What do you think? They look great, I think. There's one done. I've got it rested on a towel, by the way, because I don't want to scratch it now after all the work I've done to it. bit more. There we go. There we go. What do you think? I think it looks great. Don't you? Yeah. There we are. Now it's just a case of pop the limbs back on and we can try it all out. Well, it's completely finished now. What do you think? I think it looks really quite good. Much better than it was. I like it so much. I've actually signed it. Is it right there? Look. I'll tell you what I've done since I've last shown you some of this is I put a new string on it. I put a new knock point on. I've replaced that horrible arrow rest with a new one. And I've shot 2 arrows with it just to make sure the knock point was in more or less the right place. So what I'm going to do is test shoot it so you can see A, if it works properly, and B, if it's accurate at all. So I've got 4 arrows. Let's shoot 4 arrows and see what we get. These particular arrows, by the way, are actually for my 44-pound bow, so they won't be right for this bow, but they'll be good enough just to test it. That is not bad at all. I'm really pleased with it. So, there you go. I've managed to bring an old bow back to life again. And somebody gets something they can at least shoot. Hope they like the look of it. And there you go. Anyway, I've been the Barebow Brummie. If you want to subscribe to the channel, click down there. If you like the channel, please do. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.